As our host said, I am Dr. Thomas Parham. I am the brand new president of California State University, Dominguez Hills. If y'all didn't know there was a brother up in this house, you better ask somebody. But on behalf of our faculty, our staff, administration, and students, and the many voices that you will hear from today, I'm excited to welcome you to the Toro Nation and this magnificent institution of higher learning. I also bring you greetings from the California State University system and the other 22 campuses in our system, the largest system of public higher education in America, educating some 484,000 students. If you want to know who's doing the people's work, you don't have to look any farther than California State University, that system as a whole. Now, in bringing you greetings, I also want to remind you that you have some serious work to do. Somebody say serious work. Serious work. See, our work is we've got to think about opening up minds to the possibilities of higher education and the world of opportunity that wait for you once you complete your studies. So let me invite you to embrace a piece of wisdom. There's going a lot of wisdom floating around today. Somewhere I read that if you allow people to control the way you think, you don't have to assign them to an inferior status. If necessary, they will seek it for themselves. Let me say that again. If you allow people, young men, to control the way you think, because ideas are the substance of behavior. If you allow people to control the way you think, you don't have to assign them to an inferior status. If necessary, they will seek it for themselves. Those were the prophetic words of Carter G. Woodson, who wrote one of the most important books I've ever read, The Miseducation of the Negro, the great author and educator. But I'm also reminded, being the educator and psychologist that I am, growing up in the land of KJLH and kindness, joy, love, and happiness, and working with colleagues like Senator Steve Bradford and Senator De Leon and our other partners who are here, I'm also reminded that there ought to be something wrong with an educational system that leaves our people strangers to themselves, aliens to their culture, oblivious to their condition, and inhuman to their oppressors. Something wrong with that. So my hope for all of you this weekend, this Saturday, that during this Empowerment Summit that is hosted by California State University, Dominguez Hills, this is your university. This is your university that is hosted by KJLH and Kindness, Joy, Love, and Happiness, that is hosted by State Senator Steve Bradford and all the foundational work that he does. I want you to know, that you are at the core of being reconnected, to who you are. Not what you do, but who you are at the core of your being. I want you to rediscover who you are at that core. I want you to reconnect with your culture that is often enclosed in a climate of cultural sterility at so many colleges and universities around this nation. I want you to, understand that you become less oblivious to your condition as men in this world, and particularly as young men of color, and that you leave this place with a mindset of pursuing education, either at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, or one of the other CSU system campuses, and a renewed sense of affirmation about the dignity and humanity of yourselves as members of the human family. So while you're here today, I know it's early, and I know we got a lot of work to do. But my goal for you is to imagine. I want you to imagine now. Imagination is that mental process that forms ideal creation or visions of possibility and potential. It focuses less on what is and instead focuses on what could be. It's less about the comfort of one's immediate reach and more about the unsteadiness of one's grasp, where you got to grasp for opportunity, just beyond things that you think are possible in your lives, young men. So I grasp for the possible and not just the predictable. So along with me, along with all the other presentations you will get today, young men, we brought you here to imagine and to dream. I imagine a mind that can understand when it has been conceptually incarcerated so that it can unlock those shackles that keep it from maximizing its potential. Can y'all imagine a mind like that? See, we understand. They didn't hear me, Pastor Whitlock. See, the first thing that people do when they enslave a people is they lock down their body, their ankles, their hands, and the very next thing they're going after is a chain on their brain. So that when they give you the illusion of emancipation, oh, you didn't hear me. When they give you the illusion of emancipation, 1863 or 5, wherever you were in the country when you got that word, they'll take the shackles off of this as long as they still got a shackle on this. The biggest problem we face as a people is not drugs, gangs, violence, poverty, or racism or white supremacy. It is the need for mental liberation. That's what I'm talking about today. Why you come to Dominguez Hills? Because we are the key to unlock the shackle to that conceptually incarcerated mind to help you now dream about possibility and potential and not just settle for what is, but dream about what's possible. I imagine a heart that could transcend societal boundaries, that could learn to love unconditionally. See, interestingly, I saw my football players this morning. Where we at? From U Park and other places, right? There we are, right? Much love to them. They are symbols and images that's interesting because when I imagine a heart that could transcend societal boundaries, that could learn to love unconditionally. Because we live in a world here, right? Somebody may have seen it, where we have gymnasiums with the latest exercise equipment to build our bodies and tone our muscles. And yet with all the muscles we develop, we still have not developed the strength to love our way through the darkness of our adversities. Isn't that deep? Haven't learned how to love our brothers. So part of what you got to do is find a way to love your brothers, to love your sisters, and to understand what really conscious manhood is about. I'm going to be doing a workshop on that later on, talking about the challenges of authentic masculinity. We're going to talk about that today. I want you to imagine that we had such places, imagination, machines, and technology that can help us enhance our emotional muscle, not just our physical muscle, in ways that build exponential empathy and kindness that we extend toward other people. That's why we brought you here today. KJLH stood for kindness, joy, love, and happiness. In my day, somebody know what I'm talking about. Yes? We're trying to spread some love up in here. See, I still got imagination. I imagine a spirit whose energy and life force is so positive that no element of social distraction, not drugs, not gangs, not violence, not poverty, not racism, could derail its trajectory toward positively impacting other people's lives. Can you imagine just a glow from that spirit that embraces that alchemical process of human transformation toward perfectibility? Let me say that again. It's that alchemical process of human transformation toward perfectibility where being in the moment is always coupled with the commitment to always be in a state of becoming more better. I'm like this today, but I'm going to be a little better than that tomorrow. I'm going to be a little bit than that the next day. It's about the transformative possibilities of the human spirit, brothers. We don't expect you to be perfect. Ain't but one perfect being in the universe. Pastor Whitlock and already asked for grace from God this morning. The rest of us just here and on our way. But we're trying to be more better in our space. And that's what we need to do as men as we empower you today. Imagine that spirit. And I want you to imagine a belief where all of you could be seen as seeds of divinely inspired possibility. All my young men, stand up in here. Stand up. All the men stand up. Everybody stand up. See, I imagine a belief. Stay with me now. I imagine a belief where we can be seen as seeds of divinely inspired possibility. So I want everybody to repeat after me, because the greatest problem we have is not knowing who we are at the core of our being. I'm a baller. That's what you do. That's not who you are. I'm a Crip or Blood, fighting over colors we didn't invent and concrete we don't own a square inch of.
Well, that's right.
Because we don't know who we are. Francis Fanon was clear that there's 3 questions everybody got to be able to ask and answer. Who am I at the core of my being? Who am I? Everybody repeat after me. Each of us is a seed of divinely inspired possibility. Which when nurtured in its proper context, can and will grow into the fullest expression of all we are supposed to become. Doesn't that feel good to know you are a seed of divinely inspired possibility? So take your seat. I'm just a warm-up act. You're the best way Crump, you're ready to come out here and throw down in it. But I want you to imagine that belief. And I want you to imagine this whole community of South Los Angeles and Carson and this campus of Dominguez Hills. This is the community that boldly declares that we are the garden into which your seeds of divinely inspired possibility are placed. Dominguez Hills is that soil. KJLH is that soil. Our state senators and our legislators are that soil into which your seeds are placed. And what we will do is water them with the waters of intellectual enlightenment. Right? We will nurture them deliberately with that socialization and mentoring that you need. We will use tools to eliminate the social distractions in your life. And then we, young men, we're going to give you just enough sunlight of affirmation and just enough shade of critique. And pull you by the collar and say when you've been getting outside. And then we're going to just stand back and watch you grow into the fullest expression of all you are supposed to become. Everything you need to be successful, young men, is already in you, given to you by the ancestors in the faith. Our job as a community, our job as this university is to cultivate that seed of possibility. And don't get it twisted. How many of you have seen a withering plant on the side of the road? Who's been there before? See, a withering plant on the side of the road might have had too much sunlight or too much shade. It might have had some contaminated soil. But even if you go down, what my green thumb folk understand, if you go down to the bottom past the Whitlock and you dig the plant up at the bulb level, right? And you dust it off and take it and plant it in some nurturing soil with some KJLH, with some Dominguez Hills, with some Senator Steve Bradford in there, with some nurturing soil, right? And you water it, what'll happen? It'll come up. You don't lose your divinity because you fell short of your dream. You don't lose your divinity because you made a mistake. That's what you did. That's not who you are. Come on, recognize your divinity and stand up and be empowered today with the summit we're going to have. So imagine that's our community. I want to close. Let me close. See, I imagine a generation, your generation, young man, that could align their consciousness with their destiny. What is your destiny? So that your career choices, even within the domains of organizations in this whole Southern California region, this nation, even the world, you can't relate to a global world with a local identity. Y'all feeling me? Right? The world even, right, is your oyster. Should be less influenced by financial compensation and title and more about what people are passionate about and how their special attributes and gifts can be used to best actualize their divinely inspired potential. That's the question you want to ask. And so I imagine, can you? Can y'all imagine? Can we imagine today? Can we imagine today? Welcome to Cal State University Dominguez Hills. We on the road. Let's get to work.
All right, give it up for Dr. Thomas Carr, President of Cal State Dominguez, right here. All right, we're glad you guys are here. Where's Kevin? Kevin is gonna do those little changes right there. Listen, we got some great things lined up for you today. We're glad you're here. Any sports fans in the house? Listen, Jim Hill from KCBS Channel 2's got a sports panel today that you don't want to miss. Got some great athletes like Marcellus Wiley. He's got somebody on his panel who Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant credited with developing their career. I'm talking about Coach Jim Clemens, who was a former Laker. He was by Phil Jackson's side when the Bulls were winning all those championships and when the Lakers were winning championships. Jim Clemens is one of the people on that panel. We've got some great leaders and men in this building today and on this campus, so we hope you take advantage of it. and get in some of these panels and learn some things today. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, let's bring to the stage somebody who's always there for KJLH, always there for the community, and he's here today representing the 35th District, California Senator Stephen Bradford. Senator Stephen Bradford.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to say good morning for the third time and welcome you to Cal State Dominguez Hills. I want to thank Dr. Parham for opening up this institution. Give him a round of applause. And it's significant that we're here for the second annual Men's Empowerment Conference here on this campus because this campus was the birth of the civil unrest in 1965, the riots, and we realized the lack of resources that were in the surrounding community, and that's why this campus is here today. This campus graduates more African American and Latino men and women than any CSU college in the system, so they deserve a round of applause for that as well. But we also have to recognize KJLH, Radio Free. Give them a round of applause because it was their vision 2 years ago to put this Men's Empowerment Summit together, and I was honored that they asked me to be a part of it because of my leadership in the legislature. I chaired the Select Committee on Boys and Men of Color, and we dealt with many of the challenges that face young African American men, brown, our Latino brothers, Asian Pacific Islanders, from income disparity, education, lack of education opportunities, health disparities, you name it. We want to deal with it. We're going to be talking about all of that today, but I need something from each and every one of you here, and that's literally to stay woke. Not figuratively, but literally, stay woke today. Because we already have folks already asleep, napping. Your parents didn't get you here, your teachers didn't get you here, your guardian, whoever got you here, didn't bring you here to take a nap. So we need you to show respect for the individuals that are here, to share great information with you here that are here today. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of topics, and if you're woke, I'm here to tell you, you're going to hear something that's going to change your life. You're going to meet someone that's going to change your life, but you have to be open to it. How many believe seeing is believing? I say you're wrong. Believing is seeing. You have to first believe. You got to first believe you're going to be a doctor. You got to first believe you're going to be a teacher. You got to first believe it before it happens. You got to first believe you're going to be an athlete. You got to believe it. And I am so proud of the Nike advertising right now with Colin Kaepernick. There's a whole lot of... Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. You have to believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. He is sacrificing millions of dollars because he believes in each and every one of you here. And he's sick and tired of black and brown men being marginalized in this country, so he's willing to take a knee. So each and every one of you can stand up. So believe in something. Believe in yourself. We have a lot of great individuals here today. I'm honored to be joined by the councilman from the city of Carson, Councilman Cedric Hicks. Give him a round of applause. We have the councilwoman from the great city of Compton next door, Emma Sharif. Give her a round of applause. And we've mentioned our corporate sponsors, but it's an individual here, regardless of what the issue is, he's always on the front line with his checkbook from his company, Darryl Brown from U.S. Bank. Give him a round of applause. And when you talk about corporations giving back, he is one of those individuals who's giving back. And we see the councilman, the mayor pro tem from the city of Carson just came in here, Jawan Hilton. Give him a round of applause as well. So we have a full agenda for you today. But I'm honored to have one of my colleagues. Let me back up for a minute. Again, this institution has a very special place for me. I graduated from here 34 years ago. But I didn't start my college career here. I started at San Diego State as a biology major with every intention of being a doctor. In my senior year, I realized I wasn't going to possibly graduate, let alone go to medical school. I was put on academic probation. And I dropped out of college. And I came home. And I enrolled in El Camino and Compton College. I brought my GPA up and I enrolled here. And this campus here changed my life. It changed my life. I wouldn't be standing here as one of only 2 African American state senators in the state of California if it wasn't for this campus. So again, thank you, Cal State Dominguez Hills. I want each and every one of you to recognize this campus. So when you decide to go to college, I want you to think about this place first. Because it's right here, it's succeeding, and it's changing people's lives. When you walk on this campus today, look at the number of banners up there of distinguished alumni. You have Karen Bass, former Speaker of the California State Assembly, now Congressperson. Give her a round of applause. Went to school right here. Todd Rogers, Undersheriff for the LA County Sheriff's Department, went to school right here. We have a lot of prominent people who have gone to school here. This place will change your life because it's intimate, it's personal, and it's who we are. So I'm again excited about all that we're going to have today on this campus. I love this campus, and whatever I can do to help be a part of it, I am. But I'm honored to be joined by one of my colleagues in the California State Senate. How many people know how many state senators we have in California? 40. And as I stated, only 2 are African American. And in each house, just like in Washington, you have a leader of your house. In Congress and in the Assembly, we have the Speaker. And on the Senate side, both in Washington and Sacramento, we have the President Pro Tem. I'm honored to be joined by a good friend, my colleague, the former immediate past President Pro Tem Emeritus, Kevin DeLeon. Come on up, Kevin. I'm going to let him present. A real warrior in our community.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Najee. How you doing, my brother? Good morning. Good morning. I said good morning to each and every one of you. How are you feeling today? To my good friend, I say affectionately, with much warmth and love, Stevie B. Senator Steve Bradford. Let me tell you this. You have no better warrior that fights every single day for you to live in liberty and happiness and to pursue your dreams as people of color from Southern California and Los Angeles than this man right here, Stevie B. Let's give it up for Stevie B. Senator Steve Bradford. To KJLH, I want to thank you very much for what you do for our community here in Los Angeles. The 2nd anniversary of this empowerment conference here at this amazing campus here at Cal State University Dominguez Hills. Dr. Parham, I want to thank you very much for assuming the mantle and the helm of this wonderful university. Thank you very much. Now, I've got just a slight glimpse of what the students are in for with your leadership and with your commitment to the empowerment of all people, regardless of who they are and where they come from. So I want to thank you very much. Let's give it up one more time for our president right here. Now, let me say for many folks here who don't know me, I know there's some folks who don't know me, perhaps quite a few folks who don't know me. My name is Kevin DeLeon, and I'm the youngest child of a single immigrant mother with a 3rd grade education. Now, my mother was a housekeeper. And she was a woman who worked her fingers to the bone. She was a woman who cleaned homes in a very wealthy enclave, one of the wealthiest enclaves in the United States of America, La Jolla, California. The large palatial homes on top of the hill with a beautiful panoramic view of the Pacific Ocean. And it was there that my mother, a single mother, and to the single mothers in the house, I want to give you a shout out with much love and much respect. A single mother. Because it was this woman who spent the vast majority of her day, if not the vast majority of her life, cleaning other people's homes. But it was there that I learned the value of hard work and my mother's work ethic, because it was this woman, again, a single woman with a 3rd grade education, who paid for the rent to put that roof over my head, the clothes on my back, and the food on the table. And being the youngest one in my family, and the only one in my family to go on to college and to graduate from high school in my family, it was very empowering, because our president of Cal State Dominguez Hills said something that was so key. And I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember verbatim, but that journey of darkness, of mistakes that we make as human beings, that the sum of our mistakes don't define who we are. as human beings. Now, who has made mistakes here before? I mean, I'm talking about big mistakes. And some folks have made mistakes where you have actually confronted the system as we know it today. But that doesn't define who we are as human beings, because we go through our trials and tribulations. But it's compounded with the fact that we're dealing with very difficult issues in our community. Because today, as we know it, these are very perilous times in our nation's history. In fact, some folks would say these are very dangerous times in our nation's history. Others may perhaps argue that they've always been very perilous and dangerous times in our nation's history, if you're a person of color, but especially a man of color, as we know. Because we know that there has been a pipeline, a school or community to prison pipeline to Chino, Vacaville, Folsom, Corcoran, San Quentin, Pelican Bay, if you're really bad. Then we know we gotta destroy and disrupt that pipeline and make sure they're coming to Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, Cal State LA, or UCLA. Because our mistakes do not define who we are or what our trajectory is into the future. As Steve Bradford, our state senator, mentioned a few moments ago, we can be the lawyers, the doctors, we can be the university presidents, the politicians, we can be the civil rights lawyers, we can be entrepreneurs of the radio station like KJLH, we can be engineers. We cannot allow society to dictate what you're going to be in life. Because if you don't get a college degree, let alone a graduate degree, whether it's a MA or a JD or PhD, whether you get a high school degree and perhaps it's only a GED, life dictates what you're going to get. Because my mom, jokingly, I asked my mom very naively at a very young age. I said, you know, Mom, I said in Spanish, did you always want to be a housekeeper? And she gave me that look. Like, what are you thinking? You think I wanted to be a housekeeper all my life and work with my back? She says, I clean homes because that's all they allow me to do. And that's why our role here is to also disrupt the system, to challenge the status quo, to not be satisfied with the same old, same old. And that's why I can tell you this. Again, as the youngest child of a single immigrant mother with a third grade education, I rose to become the first leader of your California State Senate, first person of color in more than 1 century, more than 135 years. But it was because I believed in myself, but I had others believe in me when I didn't believe in myself. Sometimes you have other men and other women who believe in yourself before you even believe in your own self. That's why we pick each other up. Because I'm not here standing before you as a politician who was summa cum laude, who was valedictorian. I had a very same pathway such as Stephen B. My academics were not stellar by no stretch of the imagination. The reason why is very simple, just like our story. My mother completed 3rd grade. She couldn't help me complete a sentence, let alone help me with an algebraic equation. But later in life, through my trials and tribulations, I had others who picked me up. I'm a product of affirmative action. Without affirmative action, I tell you, I'm not here speaking before each and every one of you. Impossible. Because these are the policies that help correct the socioeconomic and political inequities that exist in our society. Some folks need a little more help because their parents are not lawyers or teachers or PhDs. But we have a lot of fight and a lot of spirit within ourselves. And we need each other to believe in each other. This is a time when we pick each other up, when we stand up for each other, when we back each other up. Regardless of who you are, regardless of where you come from, regardless of the hue of your skin, regardless of what language you speak in, yes, regardless of your legal status. We're all human beings that deserve dignity and respect in the greatest country on planet Earth, the United States of America. So, let me just finalize with this, that this is why we must always remain America's exceptional example, a beacon of hope and opportunity in a very uncertain world. That we're not going to allow one electoral aberration reverse generations of progress. We're not going to allow one electoral aberration reverse generations of progress at the height of our historic diversity, our scientific advancement, our economic output, and our sense of global responsibility, not in a great state like California. And let me leave you with this factoid as well, because we've seen a lot of the immigrant bashing, dividing families, separating children from their mothers and mothers from their children. We never thought we'd witness that in modern day history, or modern day politics in California. With the bashing of immigrants, and by the way, the one nation, Stevie B, that has the highest educational attainment of any immigrant group from all over the world that have come to the United States of America is Nigeria. For the brothers and sisters here who may have origins from Nigeria, from Lagos, Nigeria, it is Nigeria. It is not China or India, it's not the United Kingdom, it's not France, it's not Denmark, it's not another Scandinavian country, it's not Germany. It is Nigeria. It is the one nation in the world that has the highest educational attainment of immigrants who come to America, which dispels and shatters the myth that immigrants come here uneducated from countries of color. Whether you're from Mexico, Central America, whether you're from China, whether you're from Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, whether you're from the Caribbean. We all come here to work hard, to live life, to give our children a better opportunity to succeed. That's why this empowerment conference is so critical, because it's not just about the body, as Dr. Parham mentioned. It is about the mind, and how the mind can free and liberate us and do what we want to do, even if there are people doing everything with their power to make sure that we don't advance as a society. Because when African Americans advance and do well, when Latinos do well, when poor white families do well, when Asian Americans do well, when racially mixed couples with their children do well, we all do well as a society. We all benefit. We grow this economy. We put people to work. And we allow folks to aspire to dream and actually achieve their dreams. So from the bottom of my heart, to my good friend, a champion, a warrior, someone who's always on that watchtower, watching out for each and every one of you, I want to say thank you, God bless you, and let's make sure that we vote on November 6th. With that, God bless you all. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kevin De Leon, a great warrior in his own right. Again, the day is about enlightenment, it's about empowerment, it's about engagement. And that's what we want you to remember. We want to enlighten you, we want to empower you, and we might even entertain you today. But it's about opening up your minds to new ideas, new thoughts, and individuals that we might not thought of before. Also want to recognize Dr. Anthony Samad, who is the Executive Director of the Merv Diamond Institute here on this campus. And it was Merv Diamond who took me under his wings 35 years ago and encouraged me to get involved in our community. And a lot of folks probably don't know the name Merv Diamond, but he was a former assemblyman, the first black senator in the state of California, the only African-American lieutenant governor that we had in California, and a former U.S. congressperson. He was my mentor, so thank you, Dr. Sabad, for continuing on. Again, we have a lot of great workshops. We're running a little bit behind time. I'm going to get out the way, but I'm not going to leave until we recognize the individual from KJLH who really spearheaded all of this, and this is about men, but we couldn't do it without women. It's often said it's a man's world, but the women make it go round. And there's a certain woman at KJLH that makes sure the trains run on time and everything works, and that's none other than Miss Karen Slade. So come out here on behalf of the California State Senate. We have a special proclamation for Miss Slade. Thank you. Again, thank you to KJLH, thank you to Cal State Dominguez. And I'm handing back over the microphone to Mr. Nash. Here we go. Thank you, guys.
Bejamin is the principal of Ben Crump Law, a Washington, D.C. based firm, and founder of the Ben Crump Social Justice Institute, headquartered at Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. Overcoming very humble beginnings in rural North Carolina, Mr. Crump has quickly become one of the most recognizable and successful lawyers in America. He has provided legal representation and recovered millions of dollars for his clients in some of the most high-profile cases in the United States. In January 2006, Crump relentlessly pursued justice on behalf of the parents of Martin Lee Anderson, the 14-year-old who died the day after he was restrained, beaten, and suffocated at the Bay County Juvenile Boot Camp. This was the largest claims bill for an individual in a wrongful death case ever approved by the state of Florida. Crump recently achieved a very critical victory as lead attorney on what had been characterized as the landmark voters' rights case of this millennium, when 9 African-American women were arrested with guns drawn for alleged voter fraud in Madison, Florida. Crump again led the fight for justice as the lead attorney for the family of Trayvon Martin, who was killed by a neighborhood watch volunteer in Sanford, Florida. Crump's representation of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, led President Obama to call on U.S. Congress to pass legislation for police body camera videos. He served as the attorney for 12-year-old Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Ohio, Alicia Thomas in Los Angeles, California, Terrence Crutcher in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Antonio Zambrano Montez in Pasco, Washington, who were all killed by police, captured on video. He also sought justice for Janie Liggins and 9 other victims in the police rape case of 13 black women in Oklahoma City, and Robbie Tolan in the landmark U.S. Supreme Court case where a professional baseball player was shot in front of his house in a predominantly white neighborhood. Attorney Crump is a benefactor and mentor to many. As board chairman of the Legal Services of North Florida, Attorney Crump and his partner donated $1 million to the organization's capital campaign to ensure that poor people would continue to have quality legal representation and access to the courts. Mr. Crump was appointed the first board chairman of Florida's Big Bend Fair Housing Center Incorporated, a federal grant organization dedicated to the eradication of housing discrimination. Attorney Crump believes in fighting to preserve the justice that minorities have achieved throughout the Civil Rights era, and has served as the 73rd president of the National Bar Association, as general counsel to the Florida chapter of the NAACP, and as president of the National Civil Rights Trial Lawyers Association. He was the first African American to serve as president of the Federal Bar Association for Florida's Northern District. He was named the National Trial Lawyers Top 100 Lawyers in America, Ebony Magazine Power 100 Most Influential African Americans, and the National Newspaper Publisher Association's Newsmaker of the Year. Bestowed the SCLC Martin Luther King Servant Leadership Award, the NAACP Thurgood Marshall Award, and the National Civil Rights Museum Freedom Award. Crump is a life member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the NAACP, and the National Urban League. Over the years, Mr. Crump has dedicated his areas of practice in civil rights, employment law, personal injury, wrongful death cases, and class actions. Crump is executive producer of the groundbreaking documentary Woman in Motion, about Nichelle Nichols and the race to space. Nichols was among the first African-American actresses on TV and played Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, the original series. He hosts the television series Evidence of Innocence, about wrongfully incarcerated individuals exonerated by DNA evidence, is host of the A&E documentary series Search for Justice, and is author of the book Open Season, an insightful account of deep racial injustice in America. Bejamin Crump is a committed family man, and he believes the value of his family is critical to his success. The measure of a man's life should be defined by the impact he made on the lives of his fellow human beings. What impact are you making? Bejamin L. Crump.
It is my pleasure to introduce an extraordinary man, an American civil rights attorney and founder of the Tallahassee, Florida-based law firm Ben Crump Law. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker, Mr. Benjamin Lloyd Crump.
Parham to be on the campus of California State University, Dominguez Hill campus. And certainly to KJLH and its owner and president, the one and only Stevie Wonder. And his general manager, the fabulous Karen Slade. And all of their wonderful personalities who saw it not robbery to put on the annual Empowerment Summit. That being Andre Russell, our MC, Kevin Nash, thank you for that introduction, Tracy Brown, and so many others who you all know. This Empowerment Summit is so very necessary, not yesterday, but today. We need this Empowerment Summit, so thank you, KJLH. And to Senator Stephen Bradford, our leader in the California legislature. Thank you so much for speaking up, not just for our causes, but for our communities, and most importantly, for our children. Thank you, Senator Stephen Bradford. And his brother from another mother, Senator Kevin D. Leon. I just want to acknowledge before I start my conversation with you brothers and sisters, a few special people here with me today. Two of my very best friends here in Los Angeles. You all may recognize her because she was in A&E production of Who Killed Tupac with me, Karen. And that is the award-winning writer, Lolita Files. Where you at, Lolita? She is a great writer, producer, director. She tells our stories so incredibly. And to my brother in the bar here in Los Angeles, attorney Jay Pearson Lynn. Where you at, Jay? My man. And I have some members of my staff here with me. One of my best friends, Chief Integration Officer, Attorney Chris O'Neill, and my Chief Investigator, Attorney Cliff Jones. And I gotta tell you, brothers and sisters, I'm here with you full of joy, but my heart is heavy because moments before I walked into this building, President Parham, Attorney O'Neill and I were on the phone with Bothell Shem Jean's family. And that is the family of the young man who was in Dallas, Texas, in his own apartment, minding his own business. Right. And a police officer, allegedly, this police woman came into the wrong apartment and shot and killed him. And so I'm here with you this moment, even though my heart is also thinking about that family and thinking about justice. So if I can ask you just for a minute, if we have a moment of silence to lift this family up in prayer. Thank you. And then, last but not least, I want to introduce to you a special young man in my life because we all have to have reasons even beyond ourselves while we fight. And I'm sure I'm not singled out in this particular matter. I have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, my boss, named Brooklyn Zeta Crump, and my wife and I, Dr. Janae Crump, we also have the honor of being legal guardians of 2 of my cousins who are more like nephews to me. They call me Uncle Ben. And one of them, he was able to make it through all the statistics and all the odds that they have against young black men. And he just recently graduated from Florida State University. And he's here with me today. Marcus Crump. Come on out here, Marcus. This is what we're fighting for, our children. So everything I say to you today, remember, it all comes down to this. This is the crux of the matter. And to all the Omegas out there, he's also a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And I definitely want to thank you to the greatest fraternity on planet Earth, Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Thank y'all for being here, brothers. On the serious discussion, I want you all to know, men, women, it is very important that we continue always to teach our children that being black is beautiful. That's right. We have to teach our children being brown is beautiful. That's right. But we also have to make sure they understand in this American society that being black and being brown, being beautiful, means very little unless we are also black, brown, and powerful. We can't mix words. We have to make it plain with our children, and that's why, again, I'm so honored to Ms. Slade and all her staff and Senator Bradford for doing this. You know, Ben Franklin is my favorite founding father. And he's not just my favorite founding father because he got a cool first name like Ben. And Lolita, he's not my favorite founding father just because he got his big face on the $100 bill. Even though I must admit, as I've matriculated through life, I understand that having Ben Franklin's in your bank account is a good resource. But the reason Ben Franklin is my favorite founding father is because I understand he, like all the founding fathers, owned slaves. They were slave owners. They believed blacks were inferior. They owned my great-great-great-grandmother and grandfather. He was one just like all the rest of them. But he evolved. He evolved to understand that even though he didn't advocate this work while he was the first Secretary of State in the United States of America, and he didn't advocate this when he was the ambassador to France, but in his later life, in fact, his last 10 years of life, the only issue, and the most important issue to Ben Franklin, Kevin, became one of anti-slavery liberation, because as a senator in the state of Pennsylvania, he actually proposed and put forth legislation to say that black people should have equality on every level as an American citizen. And he did this because he was ignorant at first. He did believe that black people were inferior to white people. But he had an opportunity to be able to observe a young black man, much like Marcus, who was had some of the best qualities that any citizen in America had to offer. And he observed this young man that his intellectual ability was not only equal to his and his own children, but in many ways he found that it was superior to him and his own children. And once he was enlightened, Benjamin Franklin said, I can no longer profess the lie that blacks are less of a people than whites. And so he went forth and he started to shout it from the mountaintops. And he said this famous quote once he understood that blacks also had a right and should have equal opportunity to the American dream and should have liberty on every level. He said that democracy is like having 2 wolves and a lamb vote on what to have for lunch. But Ali, he said liberty, liberty, liberty is making sure that the lamb is well educated and well armed to contest the vote. So brothers and sisters, I say to you this morning that we have to make sure our children are well armed to contest the vote. We have to make sure our children are well armed to contest all this economic inequality. Have to make sure our children are well armed to contest the school to prison pipeline. We have to make sure our children are well armed to contest this racist police brutality. We have to make sure our children are well armed to contest voter suppression. We have to make sure our children are well armed to contest racist stand your ground laws. We have to make sure our children are well armed to contest these racist war on drugs that have them as the target. We have to make sure our children are well armed lambs. Because understand this, we're not saying for our children to be well armed with bullets and guns, but we're saying that we have an obligation to make sure our children are well armed with intellect, well armed with courage, well armed with diplomatic skills. Most importantly, we're trying to make sure we have an obligation to make sure that our children are more educated, more intelligent than their oppressors. That's what it's about, brothers and sisters. That's what this is about. And so how do we do this? We do it not just through talk, but through actions. You know, I see a lot of young people in the crowd today. They have a popular hip-hop song that Marcus probably know about that's applicable to here. It's called Walk It Like You're Talking. And so that's why I'm so honored that Stevie Wonder would use his influence to have programs like this. Because I never forget when Jamie Foxx met Trayvon Martin's parents and me at the NAACP Image Awards right here in Los Angeles, California, and he offered to help him do anything he could do to help the cause for justice for Trayvon Martin. And this was him just receiving the Oscar for Ray. I mean, he was being honored with the Lifetime Award by, the NAACP right at that moment. And people were saying, Jamie, it's too controversial, don't get involved. I never understand what the hell they mean by controversial when our Trayvon was walking home, minding his business, talking on the phone, and this neighborhood watch volunteer with a 9mm gun profile pursued and shot him in the heart. And when we stand up for Trayvon, they say we're being controversial. I just don't understand that, brothers and sisters. But what Jamie said to me and Trayvon's mother, Sabrina, he said, what good is it having influence if you don't use it when it matters most? So brothers and sisters, we have an obligation. We have an obligation that I children can see us walking like we talking. Dr. Martin Luther King said in his famous letter from a Birmingham jail that we as moral people have an obligation to oppose injustice when we see it. He said, if you're going to call yourself moral, if you're going to say I'm a good person, that when I see an injustice, I got to say something about it. I got to do something about it. I just can't turn my head. You know, neutrality in the face of injustice is in and of itself an injustice. Amen? I mean, when you see it, you got to do something about it. And I ain't talking about the cause J that's kind of close. I'm talking about the things that we know in live and living color is an injustice. I mean, Eric Gardner being choked in New York on camera. I know in Los Angeles, y'all know something about the chokehold, right? I mean, and we saw Eric being choked right there, killed on camera. I'm talking about my client, 12-year-old Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Ohio. That baby being shot down on the playground by himself. And you all saw the video. The police came in less than 1.7 seconds. I mean, pulled the trigger and gunned that baby down in the snow. And you saw the video when you kept watching Lolita. You saw his big sister. He was 12, his sister was 15. She ran out the community center screaming, y'all shot my little brother. Y'all shot my little brother. They kept saying, oh, well, we thought he was a man. At that point, they knew, based on what she was saying, as she was crying, trying to run to him, that he was a child. And then, do you think they offered him any humanity once they knew he was a child? Well, their actions speak louder than their words. Watch the video. I mean, after they shot Tamir Rice, and then his sister is running, trying to get to him just to touch him, trying to comfort him. What do the police officers do in that video? Chris, you saw they tackle her on the ground in the snow. She tries to get back up. They tackle her again. This is a woman, and they know she's a woman, and they now know she's just trying to get to her little brother. And what do? After they tackle her twice in the snow? They put her in handcuffs, and they drag her and put her in the back of the police car, the same police car that we saw in the video that came up, and the gun came out the window and the shots were fired. They put her in the back seat of that police car that's parked there at the gazebo. And she sits there handcuffed, crying and weeping in the back seat of the car as she watches her little brother die. How can you see that and not say something? We have an obligation to our children. If we tell them that they really matter, that we have to do something. Our children are watching us.
That's right.
See, you can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you cannot kill a kid. Because everything you say, they watching you, mama, they watching you, daddy. You tell them not to drive and text, and you drive and text, they watching you.
Yep. That's right.
You tell them not to drink, and you drinking, they watching you. I mean, our children are looking at us to see if we really do believe that their lives matter, because if their lives matter to us, then we have an obligation to do something to let them know that our lives matter. And so when we see these things, whether it's Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Philando Castile in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Terrence Crutcher, Tulsa, Oklahoma, had his hands up walking away on video in broad daylight, and the white policewoman shot and killed him. We called that, Ferguson, they said, even though everybody saw Michael Brown running away, all the people who lived in that government housing community saw him running away on Canfield Avenue when this I gotta watch what I say, it's been videotaped. When this police officer, Darren Wilson, claimed that he had to shoot him because he was in fear of his life, even though there were almost 70 feet away from each other, when he shot Michael Brown 8 times, the last bullet being in the top of his head. And you knew Michael Brown was taller than him. So the only way he could have shot him with that trajectory, Michael Brown was falling down, and he shot anyway. But Terrence Crutcher had his hands up, just like Michael Brown, and it was on video. Sandra Bland, Natasha McKinney in Virginia. This sister having mental problems. She's in her underwear in jail, handcuffed, and they tased her 10 times and she dies. When you see that kind of injustice, we got to say something, do something. These are our children that have been taken from us. And so that's what Martin Luther King was saying, that we have an obligation, brothers and sisters. We have an obligation to say something when we see injustice. And it don't matter what the system say. It don't even matter. See, understand this. I'm a lawyer, and I get it. I'm part of this system. I see it every day. Y'all know us lawyers, boy. I'm putting myself, I'm part of the system. Jay, Chris, we all part of the system. But us lawyers, if you listen to us long enough, well, we can make something sound pretty good. We can make it sound very logical, very persuasive, very plausible. And so despite seeing all these black men and women, brown men and women, Antonio Zambrono Montez, who I represent in Seattle, he was also on video with his hands up when they executed him. And they tried to argue, and you know this, Chris, they tried to say because he was an undocumented immigrant, that we don't know if he have a right to even sue. Well, hell, he's a human being. He's a human being. But we see all these videos, and then they go back in the room to these secret grand jury proceedings, and they do what they do, and they have these old fancy technical legal terms called qualified immunity and all this stuff, and then they come back out to us and they tell us, well, technically the police didn't violate any policy or procedure, and there was no regulation that was infringed upon, and they say all this technical stuff, and so they say they legally justify what I call the intellectual justification of discrimination, and they do it in America every day of the week. And it's like Dr. King said, just because it's legal, that don't make it right. Everything they did to the Jews in Germany was legal, but that didn't make it right. Slavery was legal, but that didn't make it right. Segregation was legal, but that didn't make it right. It's not enough about your legal justification, but what about your moral justification? Ain't that what it's about? Your morals, your ethics, your humanity. Because our children are watching, y'all. Our children are watching. And let me make it plain, as they say on Sunday morning in church. You have these inequities in the law. What Ben Franklin was talking about. Every citizen should have equal opportunity, equal justice, and liberty in America. So we see these crazy inconsistencies in the American justice system. You have the controversy of crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. And, it just don't make no sense at all. But they keep making black and brown bodies be part of the prison industrial complex based on that there. And then, brothers and sisters, you have these whole notions where little poor black and brown people, if you steal $500, $600 of food stamps, or you do an income tax return and you get $800, $900 that they say you shouldn't have gotten, they then incarcerate us and put us in jail versus, y'all remember that movie, The Big Short, where they had all these people stealing billions of dollars. They had Countrywide Financial, this home lending bank. I mean, they were found guilty. Brothers and sisters, I see a lot of head shaking. Y'all know the story. $850 million. And what did the federal judge in New York say, Lolita? The federal judge said, well, I think they didn't understand the law, so I'm going to overrule the guilty conviction. Why the hell do the black and brown people never get that type of consideration? I just don't understand it. It makes no sense. And then think about it, y'all, with this voter suppression that's going on in America. We have a sister in Texas who got out of prison, thought she had paid her debt to society, thought she had did everything she had to do to be able to be fully restored as a United States citizen and go cast a vote. And that's what she did. She went and cast her vote in this last election, and she didn't cast it for, I don't like calling his name, she didn't cast it for 45. She cast it for his opponent. And they actually charged her with a crime. And they put her in prison for 5 years. 5 years. Now, juxtapose that, well, before I juxtapose that, they also had a Latino woman who voted, very similar circumstances. Thought she had every right to vote and everything. Technically, she had done everything. She had done everything. There was one technical thing. I think she may have owed like another $60. Something minute. And she went to vote. And she didn't vote for 45. And you can guess what they did to that sister. They gave her 8 years in prison. 8 years. And then said when she gets out, they're going to kick her out the country. They're going to take her citizenship back. Then you juxtapose that with a white woman who literally, and you can't make this stuff up, who voted for 45, and she voted twice. She voted twice, and it was clear. She even admitted to it. Chris, she said she voted because she didn't trust the system. So she said she voted in one precinct, and then she went and voted in another precinct. And said she was going to vote in the third precinct before they cut her. Because 45 had told them at rallies that they were, trying to take their votes away. And so she clearly broke the law. And you would think with this admission that with this precedence that's out there now, that she would surely serve prison time, right? 5 months probation. Or it gets worse. It gets worse, brothers and sisters. In Texas, there's also a justice of the peace. I think his name is Russ Hardy. Because I don't want y'all to take Ben Crump word for it. I want y'all to go look at this for yourself. Crystal Mason was the black woman. His name is Russ Casey. He was the justice of the peace in Tarrant, Texas. The same county that Crystal Mason got found guilty of and sent to prison for 5 years. He was running for office. He helped forge people's signatures so he could win his primary. They caught him red-handed. He forged dozens of people's signatures. And how did they know? Because these people were dead. He pled guilty to it. And certainly with the precedence of Crystal Mason in the same county going to prison for 5 years, certainly he would go to prison, right? Right? 1 year probation. 1 year probation. And Let me make the case plain. I'm a trial lawyer. So y'all the jury. Y'all know they sent all these little black and brown people to prison for years in this war on drugs. This war on drugs for selling minuscule bags of marijuana. I mean, you know, a $20 bag, a $40 bag of marijuana, they sent you to prison for 5, 10, 15 years because the war on drugs, and you all know lawyers, what do they say? Because we got to be hard on crime, we got to be hard on these drugs because it's poison in the community. We got to be hard on drugs. And they kept saying that every prosecutor, every police, everybody, we got to be hard on drugs. We got to send a message to the community. They kept saying that while they just, sending our people to prison by the busloads. Gotta go. Hard on crime. We gotta be tough on the war on drugs because they poison in the community. And then we come to Flint, Michigan, where they actually did poison the damn community. And how many people go to jail? They poisoned, literally, they poisoned the community, Kevin. Andre, they poisoned the community. It was a community that looked a lot like a lot of us in this room. And nobody went to jail. And brothers and sisters, just to close the door completely on this, crack cocaine, for years, they destroyed entire generations of families with criminalization of people who were addicted to crack cocaine. Now we come here in America to present day with the opioid crisis that affects little white boys and girls in the suburbs, and they just changed the rules completely. They say, oh, it's a medical issue. You don't even go to jail. You don't even get any kind of criminal record. They even say the employers who they work for, if they go get treatment and counseling, you can't even put it in their employment records. Well, why did the black and brown people who were addicted to crack ever get such consideration? Was it a medical issue when they were addicted? We gotta speak truth to power. It's so clear that this is the intellectual justification of discrimination. And it's happening over and over and over again. And brothers and sisters, we have an obligation every chance we get to go down to city council, to go talk to our police department, to talk to our legislators, to go support Stephen Bradford when he passed legislation to say that, damn it, we care about our children too, and you can't keep sending us to jail and then sending everybody else for rehabilitation. Because I got to tell you, brothers and sisters, I want this conference to start off right today, and I'm going to try to wrap it up after a few more minutes. But this is heavy on my heart because we see it every day in the courtrooms all across America, Because as bad as it was how Trayvon Benjamin Martin was killed in Sanford, Florida, as bad as it was how Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri. As bad as it was how Tamir Rice, 12-year-old baby, was killed in Cleveland, Ohio. And the list can go on and on. I submit to you, it's far worse how they are killing our children every day in courtrooms in every city, in every state, all across America. All across America. Don't take my word for it. Go sit in the back of a courtroom and just watch how they administer injustice. Just watch it like Chuck D said from Public Enemy. Watch how the justice and how they administer. You have little white boys and girls, Billy and Becky, they come in court and they have very similar fact patterns to little black children, Shaniqua and Leroy. I mean, very similar fact patterns. Pretty much identical fact patterns, Andre. And you will see the little Billy and Becky get a little slap on the wrist, and then they leave out of court and go on with their life. And then, Cliff, you see the little black children taken to the corner of the courtroom, and they're charged, handcuffed, fingerprinted, and convicted of a felony conviction that they have to bear like a cross on their backs for the rest of their entire life. In this age of technology, it never goes away. Right, Jay? It never goes away. And now you have this felony conviction on your back. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but our children need to hear it. Because once you are a minority and you have a felony conviction, it is very daunting. It's very challenging to get a good job where you can pay your rent, to keep a roof over the head of your family, to put food on the table, to keep the lights on. I mean, it gets so crazy, and Chris, we were talking about this, it gets so crazy, y'all, that if you are a convicted felon in many states in America, you can't get a decent job because they got this little technical game they play that you got to get certifications. And if you're a convicted felon, you can't get certified to be a brick mason. You can't get certified to be a teacher. You can't get certified to be a realtor. You can't get certified to be a nurse. You can't get certified to even be a beautician. You can't get certified to be a plumber. I mean, they have all these collateral consequences once you have a felony conviction. And it follows you for the rest of your life. Jay, in some states in America, once you are convicted of a felony and you serve time in prison, you can't even get life insurance. So you become the walking dead. You just ain't got the death certificate yet. And that's what we're fighting every time they give these trumped up felony convictions on our children. So we got to go in courtroom and we got to object to these DAs. And we talk about voting for the presidential election. Your local election is far more important to the lives of your children than the presidential election. And we got to call them out, y'all. When the statistics, the data is the data. Get the raw statistics. We are intelligent people here. We can tell if they are sending our children to prison and they sending other children, sending to Bradford to diversion programs. We get the worst of everything that justice has to offer, and they get the best of everything justice has to offer. Well, we got to speak up on that. And y'all, as I try to make ready to leave, it matters, y'all. It matters us being there in those courtrooms. It matters us being there at the city council meetings. It matters us writing letters to the editor. It matters us getting a curious slave and saying we're going to talk about this. It's not just great entertainment, but we want great information. And we thank Stevie Wonder and everybody for giving us the platform because it matters when our children hear our voices. It matters. Martin Luther King said that the coward asked the question, is it safe? And then he said, expediency asked the question, is it politically correct? And then he said, oh, vanity comes along and asked the question, is it popular? But then he said, conscience comes along and asked the question, is it right? And Dr. King concluded there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither popular, nor politically correct, nor safe, But one must take a position because his conscience tells him it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do to stand up for our children. It is the right thing to do to speak up for our children. It is the right thing to do to fight for our children. Because they're our children. And if we don't fight for our children, we can't expect nobody to fight for our children. Citizens, Bradford, Karen, I want to leave y'all with this here. And it's from the man whose vision started this radio station. Some of his most profound lyrics I ever heard, Lolita. He said, we all know sometimes life's pains and troubles can make you wish you were born in another space and time. But you can bet your lifetimes that and twice as double that God knew exactly where he wanted you to be placed. So make sure when you say you're in it, but not of it, you're not helping to make this earth a place sometimes called hell. Change your words into truth and then change that truth into love. And maybe our children's grandchildren and their great-great-grandchildren will tell. We got to let our children know that we'll be loving them until the rainbow burns the stars out of the sky. Because that's how important our black and brown children are to us, and they need to see it every day of our lives, that we have an obligation to oppose injustice when we see it, and that we must make sure that they are more intelligent than their oppressors. God bless you.
Give it up for Bejamin Crump, ladies and gentlemen. Bejamin Crump. Bejamin Crump. This is amazing. It's a brother I want to recognize out here. Of course, a lot of the sessions are about to start. It's Mr. Darrell Osby. I just saw him in the seat. Where is he? There he is.